Hey guys, and welcome to this video on Black Moon Lilith in astrology. I'm Cassandra, the Saffron Sage, helping you use astrology to evolve, and in this video we're talking about Black Moon Lilith. The Black Moon Lilith, we'll talk about what the point is, we will talk about the mythology, and then we'll go through what it means for the sign that you have Black Moon Lilith in your natal chart. So Black Moon Lilith is not a planet, it's not an asteroid, it is a point in space. It's called a lunar apogee, and it is the distance from the Earth to the furthest point on the moon's orbit. So the moon travels around the Earth in an elliptical orbit. It's not a perfect circle. So there is a point that ends up being further away from the Earth on that circle. And so Black Moon Lilith is that point in space. There is the Black Moon Lilith, and there's also the true Black Moon. So if you really want to get technical, you can look at both of these and see which one you feel resonates. But for the purposes of this video, just simply clicking Lilith in the chart on other objects in astro.com and seeing where it shows up in your chart, that is enough to get value out of these videos. So that being said, let's move on to the myth of Lilith. So Lilith was the true first lady before Eve even existed. Lilith was the first lady, and she was in the Garden of Eden with Adam. And one of the stories I read says they were both created from the dust of the earth. And there are many different myths that talk about Lilith. There's not just one, so these differ. But the gist of the story is that she wanted to be on top. Adam said, "No, you'll submit to me," and she would not submit. And because she would not submit, she got kicked out. Some people say she left, some people say she got kicked out, but the sort of overarching theme here is that she was not accepted just for having the same desires that Adam had. I think it's so fascinating that this story isn't even told. And so again, here the myths differ, but they all kind of basically curse her in some way or another. One that I read said that her children would be cursed to die if she didn't come back to Adam. So we see the themes in this story of, the masculine need for power and control and the feminine need to be wild and free, and how those don't match up. So what does this mean in the natal chart? Lilith has, in my opinion, two meanings. Okay, so one meaning is that Lilith can be the shadow. So this can be an area of life where you tend to overdo it. You have maybe too much of this energy, or the way that you express the energy wherever your Lilith is in your chart is like the shadow side of that sign, the negative side, the overindulgence. It can be where you feel like there's never enough. The second meaning of wherever your Lilith is the thing that people don't let you express, the thing that people get upset at you for expressing. And this may or may not be the energy of your sun, moon, or rising, depending on where Lilith is in your chart. But oftentimes you can actually be embodying this energy in a normal, regular way, and people will not accept you for living that out, even if it's balanced. And so it takes a little bit of self-knowledge, like true self-knowledge, true soul searching, to really be able to kind of parse out the difference with Lilith between where you possibly could be overindulging, where you could be, never satisfied, versus where you are naturally embodying that energy in a balanced and healthy way, but it somehow rubs other people the wrong way, just like Lilith in that story where she wasn't really doing anything wrong. She just said no once. And that was enough to get her cast out of basically society and demonized for the rest of her life. So this is the story in our own lives where we have those sort of archetypes, those themes play out, even if they're not as extreme, right? So we might not be cast out of society, but people around us might not approve for certain things. And, that has ripples and layers of effects. So let's now get into what Lilith means in your sign. Okay, so Lilith in Libra, there's a couple ways this can show up. One is that the shadow side of Libra. Two is the way people react to you if you're expressing Libra energy in a natural, healthy way. So number one is the shadow of Libra, because Libra is a sign of relationships. So remember, this is on a spectrum and it's up to you to figure out where you land on it. The shadow side of Libra is manipulation, because Libra is very good at relationships, and Libra can get people to do what they want. Libra can, in the worst case scenario, get other people to do things for them that they just don't want to do for themselves. And really, because they're such a good sign of, like, they're good at networking. You know, they're good at, like, building connections with people to get to the top. I mean, that is really one of Libra's best qualities. But the shadow side of this is when you are lying to people or using people or getting them to do work that you should be doing for yourself. So that is one shadow side of Libra. Another shadow side of Libra is, like, to the extreme of, like not having boundaries. So it can go the totally other way, where you're actually the person who is more manipulated, or you're, like, doing things you don't want to do in relationships to keep the peace, and you don't know how to express that Aries energy of, like, no, this is what I want, these are my boundaries. So another real shadow side of Libra is not knowing what your boundaries are, not being able to assert them when necessary, not knowing when you have a right to say no, this is not okay, not knowing how to confront someone when they are not acting in a way that's okay, and sometimes not being able to tell the difference and having to ask the question, like, well, you know, should I let this person totally walk all over me? And it's like, to anyone outside the situation, it's like an obvious no, but to the person with the imbalanced Libra energy, it's like, well, they really wanted that, you know. It's like the care, the putting the other people first can become distorted. Now, there's another shadow side of Libra, which goes the totally other direction, of feeling like you need to take someone down a notch. So that's like the person who perceives that someone else is on top, whether it's true or not, and then wants to put them down to the level they deserve. So this can show up as a pretty vicious energy with Libra, of, like, using other people to manipulate to get someone else to be on the bottom so you can be on top. That is probably one of the worst shadows. So it's up to you, if you have Lilith and Libra, to kind of see if any of those relate to you, because what it really is, the core energy here is you can never have enough of the status or the connection that you want in relationships. So, you know, for some people, this can show up as just being like an obsessive relationship person, you know, the kind of person that's always in a relationship and never is single. It can also be like you can never have enough connection in the relationships you have, where it's you always want to be with your partner all the time. You can never be apart. You know, different extremes of that kind of energy. And then, so let's talk about what happens when people reject you for expressing your natural Libra energy. So this is going to be if you find you are keeping the peace and you're helping everyone out and just trying to maintain balance, someone will probably criticize you for that. You might get criticized for caring too much about people. People could hate you for being beautiful with this placement, because Libra is one of the beautiful signs, okay, whether you think so or not. And so people can really get mad at you or be jealous of you for your looks, for how you do your makeup or your hair or your clothes if you're a guy, or, you know, whatever, however you present yourself. This can be something that triggers people. And so to have that imbalance can be, even if you're just doing it in a natural way, you just care about things being pretty, or even your house being pretty, or the things around you having nice aesthetic qualities, you may find that people reject this part of you. People criticize you more for this. Even if, like, you know, you're in Libra energy as like you're an artist or you're a makeup artist, and, you know, you just find that people tell you things like, oh, there's better things to do with your time than makeup, you know, where people will just sort of come down on you really hard just for like caring what you look like, or wanting things to be pretty, wanting things to be beautiful, wanting things to be harmonious. So that can happen sometimes with the other people's desire to repress that Libra energy that you have. And so when it comes to that, oftentimes, You know, it's good to remember that the reason why people will repress your Lilith is not because you're wrong, but because it works better for them. It works better for them. If they prefer a certain way of things being and you're the opposite, it works better for them for you not to express your energy, whatever that is. So that's what I have for Lilith and Libra. You can also book a private reading if you'd like to look at your shadow, how it affects you, how it shows up. You can click the link in the description to book a reading with me. And that is what I have for you guys. So I will see you all in the next video.